excited to tell you a little bit more about what we do. Our mission is to transform education by helping all schools redesign the student experience. And I've got a teach voice, but I'll use this anyhow. And so, of course, let's start with students. And this is hopefully where all of our heads go when we start thinking about the impact that we want to have. And oftentimes when we talk about high school, we start here and we look at the schedule that students have. And we focus usually in on the courses they have and the teacher that is driving that experience for the students. But what we fail to recognize is that there are a lot of things happening underneath this that we never really see, dictated by systems that are usually hidden to most of us. And so whether that might be finance and the number of, the amount of money that we have to drive the ratio of student to teachers in a classroom, or the experience of the teachers that are teaching our students, the SIS controlling sort of the classes they take, or maybe the ones that they're missing, not being ready for college and career, or maybe even the number and the quantity and quality of other students in that classroom with them as well, and the experience that has on each student. So there's a lot of these underlying systems that we kind of take for granted. And what we've noticed is that in the ed tech world in particular, that there's this gap, that we spend a lot of time focusing on that classroom experience with solutions, services, and investment, and not a lot of time in these underlying kind of systems that drive that experience. And as a result of that, we're still dealing with a lot of legacy systems in our K-12 schools that dictate that experience, especially around HR, SIS, and finance, which don't really generally work together. They don't integrate nicely together, they don't talk to each other, and more importantly, they don't really support the needs of our students. So that's a space that ABL has jumped into. We're building the new student-centered operations platform by putting the students at the center of the key pieces of their experience to enable rapid improvement through a flexible, integrated solution. And so where we're starting, in particular, is with a thing called master scheduling, which a lot of you may not have heard about, but from a business perspective, is a really key piece of the puzzle and a great place to start because it's high pain point for secondary schools and districts around the country. It centralizes a lot of the data in those systems we just talked about, and so if we can get into that space, there's high data lock-in, and it really does control the majority of the school's spending. So how do we get into this? Well, we got into it with this example here. When we started looking at problems in secondary schools, we ran across this in almost every school we went into, and this is how schools actually master schedule today. They use magnets, where they move around teachers and classes and kind of match them together to figure out what teachers should teach. And this has two big problems. Number one, 80% of a school and district's budget is spent on personnel. So this one board here dictates about $10 million in budget. Magnets dictate $10 million in budget. The second problem, and that's grossly inefficient, right? The second problem, though, is that nowhere on here do you see anything about students. There's no way to put students into this sort of environment to help to understand what they really need and how to dictate that experience. So that's what we do. We help schools and districts leverage the master schedule to address equity and access, optimize teaching and learning, and maximize finite resources. And we do that through an integrated solution of a modern, smart, flexible software platform along with personalized strategic coaching and guidance services. So let's take an example. We do a lot of work here in San Diego. This is one of the largest districts we work in. And we've been working recently, the last couple of years, with Hoover High School. We understand their context or what's happening in the school, and then we set some scheduling goals for them. And then we work very closely with them through a three-step process. So in the first step, we actually audit what they've been doing over the last couple of years with their master schedule, and then set some goals around that. We then use our software to help them or bring up information that they don't normally see, detailed information about students, different student groups, help them understand trade-offs and make better decisions as they go along. And then we come back and refine that once they take a first pass at their master schedule to understand, are they really doing the things that they want? For example, if they said they wanted to eliminate tracking, then we can present them with data that says, well, maybe you're not doing so good there. Let's go back and refine things. So this is the work that we've been doing with helping Hoover achieve some of their most important scheduling goals over the last couple of years. In addition, though, bubbling that information up to the district level has been really important so they can compare what's happening at different schools to say, hey, are we using the master schedule to address equity and access across our district, not just in one school? Of course, we have to do that within the context of other systems. Those legacy systems still exist. So the SIS is the biggest one. We still have to have data going back and forth. So we're more of a companion to the SIS than taking over what the SIS is doing. We've been fortunate enough to work with schools all around the country. Last year, we worked with about 25 different schools in 13 districts, and this year, we're on track to 4X that. We'll work with about 100 schools right now during scheduling season. So that's our company. We've been fortunate enough to have the support of some of the great education investors, as well as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, that has subsidized much of the work that we've been doing in high-need communities over the last couple of years. So if you want to learn more about what master scheduling is all about, the true impact that it can have, and talk about the business opportunity there, we'd love to chat. Thanks.